I find that one aspect of cinema always seems to evade the overall perception of what motion pictures truly are: the over-intellectualized and underwhelming sector of film theory. However, film theory laid the groundwork to legitimize the academic side of cinema. Film theory is the basis of criticism, and criticism begets progress. Among these theorists was a German-born Siegfried Kracauer. Along with his contemporaries, André Bazin and Cesare Zavattini, Kracauer produced works that influenced and analyzed a mode of filmmaking called realism. In 1947, he published his masterwork From Caligari to Hitler, which coalesced decades of German cinema to claim that the impending Nazi threat was evident in the themes of the films released preceding the totalitarian regime. As a champion of realism, Kracauer was certain in filmmaking as a very powerful and perhaps the only tool to record and reveal truths about reality. Unlike its predecessors of photography and painting, film could represent the evolution of reality over time. Through the use of cinematic techniques and devices, film could establish physical existence in an archival form. Kracauer's The Establishment of Physical Existence argues that the main purpose of motion pictures is to render reality back to a viewer precisely as it has and will occur. The techniques that a filmmaker implements should in some way document and exemplify some natural truth about humans. Film alone can achieve this because it records movement and evolution of reality throughout time. The specific issues that Kracauer seeks to explain is how film can be realized for this purpose. Cinema can record anything and everything, but amongst the vastness of reality, there are some subjects which it seems cinema was predestined to exhibit. To Kracauer, the innovation of the camera could be used to record or reveal reality itself. The primary difference between the motion picture medium and its static predecessors is simply that: motion. Film is the only archival medium that can literally capture movement. And taking that even further, according to Kracauer, there are 4 types of movement that are wholly and inherently cinematic. First is the chase, the ultimate expression of motion, explosive, expressive, extreme, and suspenseful. Film is the only medium which can contain the spectacle and physicality of pursuit and evasion. Early French comedies used the chase religiously. It was the final expressive explosion of chaos. D.W. Griffith took this a step further by joining a physical race to rescue with the psychological inner turmoil erupting simultaneously. Second is the dance, separate from the ballet monopolized by theater and less vaudevillian in action. Cinematic dancing is an extension of expressive living. Not predestined, it springs from human emotion, physicalized. One can always watch a dance in real time through live performance, but if that same person wishes to archive that dance, film is the only tool. It captures the movements that painting and photography can only imply. Third is nascent motion, the origin of motion from a state of motionlessness. Nascent motion lends itself solely to film through juxtaposition. While it's true that other mediums can capture the forthcoming stillness, there is no contention that film alone can render the motion immediately following. The stillness induces shock and reminds us of the significance of motion. In film, the stopping of an external movement implies the beginning of an internal one. Fourthly is the manipulated motion of inanimate objects. Photographs can contain inanimate objects, but film personifies them. It allows them to be the center of attention and carry the action as a full-fledged character, while theater keeps inanimate objects dormant in their everlasting wide shots. A close-up of a tipping chair or a falling leaf is an actor itself. They all have something to say, and in my favorite example, it's a grocery bag in the wind. Beyond recording, film also functions to discover some truth about reality, that which it then reveals to us. The first is things normally unseen, the small and the big, more specifically the close-up and the crowd shot. Kracauer disagreed with formalists such as Sergei Eisenstein, who claimed that a close-up was a door to an abstract internal reality. Instead, he insisted that they be absorbed for their own sake. A close-up is a reaction to something, say despair, not despair itself. It is a physical reality enlarged, not dematerialized. On the opposite end of the spectrum is the wide crowd shot, a cacophony of unified movement, the dozens or hundreds or thousands of individual movements combine to create a conglomerated mass. It is the movement that reveals the attitude, and hence reveals the message. Also normally unseen are the transient things. Film seems to gravitate towards the most fleeting things in our world, things that still permeate the viewer's mind long after the movie altogether is forgotten. The technique of slow motion captures events of short nature and preserves them in an understandable duration, while conversely accelerated motion condenses macro, slow-moving phenomenon into perceivable moments. These techniques change the reality of a situation. They still reveal something about physical existence, although experimental. They paint a portrait from a certain perspective of the world we live in. Lastly, unseen are blind spots of the mind. Habit and prejudice prevent us from noticing these in the real world. They stubbornly escape our attention in everyday life. Things like unconventional complexes that reveal relationships previously unthought of. Also things people refuse to see. What we ordinarily prefer to ignore is emphasized because of this common neglect. Additionally, the familiar goes unnoticed. Things we take for granted, things we interact with daily. Kracauer says, because we know them by heart, we do not know them by eye. Film secondly tends to reveal phenomenon that overwhelm consciousness. This is war, violence, sex, death. Film forces interaction with these subjects. People who experience these phenomena embellish, exaggerate. They cannot recall the truth of the matter, but film does simply that. Total representation without distortion. Often this is criticized as cheap sensation, but film adds something new to these sensations. It is the rendering of these events that can visualize our inner anguish, make witnesses observers. And lastly, is special modes of reality. Film can expose a subjective mode of reality as it appears to people in extreme circumstances. Mental disturbances or disorientations, drunk or emotionally upset. Film can reveal to all what is only known to some.